Good morning, my dear students. This is the fifth class. So, in this class, I am trying to cover the following portions. First one, gamma decay. Second one, radioisotopes and its applications. So, first topic is gamma decay. We know that an unstable nucleus, sometimes it may decay to stable nucleus by alpha decay, or by emitting beta particles, or by emitting gamma rays. Particularly, gamma rays are emitted if a nucleus is in an excited state, and it returns to its ground state by emitting gamma rays. Most probably, this emission of gamma rays is following the emission of alpha particles or by the emission of beta particles from a nucleus. So, if an unstable nucleus emits an alpha particle, sometimes the daughter nucleus formed is in an excited state. That excited nucleus may return to the ground state usually by emitting gamma rays. This means that a nucleus in an excited state can return to the ground state by emitting gamma rays. The emission of gamma rays usually occur following the emission of alpha or beta decay from an unstable nucleus. So the emitted gamma rays, these are electromagnetic radiations. They carry energy only. The energy of the emitted gamma rays is in the range kilo electron volt or mega electron volt. As a result of gamma ray emission, the parent nucleus and daughter nucleus is the same. There is no change in atomic number and mass number of the parent nucleus. Daughter form is also having the same atomic number and mass number as that of the parent nucleus. Only difference is their energy. Energy of the daughter nucleus, which means that energy of the daughter nucleus is in ground states, so its energy is less than that of the parent nucleus. So the difference is only in the energy of the excited nucleus is more than that of the daughter nucleus. That difference in energy is carried by gamma rays. So as a result of gamma ray emission, there is no change in the element, but the emitted gamma rays carry some energy. The typical emission of a gamma ray decay can be represented as X is the nucleus, X is the atomic number, A mass number, X is A. The star represents X is in excited state. So it emits a gamma ray, and as a result, the nucleus becomes XZA in ground state. So in this equation, star represents the nucleus is in excited state. The right side there is no star, which means that nucleus XZA is in ground state. So as a result of gamma decay, there is no change in atomic number or mass number, but there exists an energy difference between the excited nucleus and the daughter nucleus. If you represent the energy of the parent nucleus or excited nucleus as E star, and E is the energy of the daughter nucleus in the ground state, then the energy of gamma rays is an electromagnetic radiation. So by Planck's theory, energy of gamma rays is h nu, where nu is the frequency of gamma ray. So the energy of gamma rays is equal to E star, energy of the excited nucleus, minus E, energy of the daughter nucleus. And then by using energy level diagram, one can explain the emission of gamma ray transitions. Here I am trying to explain the energy level diagram of excited nuclear states of carbon 6 and mercury 80 and the associated beta decay from the nuclei boron 5 toll and gold 79 So this is the nuclear states of boron 5 toll. So if it's emit a beta decay, sometimes it, as a result of beta decay, atomic number increases by 1. So boron 5 becomes carbon 6 toll. Sometimes boron 5 toll emits a beta decay, emits a beta particle, and a carbon 6 toll is formed in the ground state. Sometimes it may emit a beta decay of some other energy and leaves carbon in an excited state represented by carbon 6 toll star. So from that excited nuclear state, carbon 6 toll emits a gamma ray, and as a result it reaches carbon 6 toll in ground state. So this represents the emission of gamma ray from boron 5 toll, and this also this represents the beta decay and gamma decay from gold 79 So this represents the ground states of mercury 198. These two states represents the excited states of mercury 198. Sometimes gold emits a beta particle and it may fall to this excited energy level, and from that excited energy level it emit a gamma ray of energy having frequency or a nu 1 or energy h nu 1, and it will return to mercury 8198 in the ground state. Sometimes it may gold may emit a beta particle and it leaves mercury in another excited nuclear states. From that it may undergo that excited mercury nuclear state. That nucleus may emit two different types of gamma rays, gamma 2 or gamma 3, having different energies, and as a result it ultimately or finally it reaches the ground states of mercury. So different this represents gamma ray is production from gold to mercury transitions having these gamma rays possess different energies. These excited nuclear states of mercury possess different lifetimes. Usually the lifetime of the excited nuclear states this is of the order of 10 raised to minus 9 to 10 raised to minus 13 seconds. In some cases, the observed half-life period of these excited nuclear states may be of the order of 10 raised to minus 8 seconds, 2 years. So if the half-life period of this excited state or this excited state is of the order of years, then the gamma ray emission from these excited nuclear states will be gets delayed. So these delayed transitions are known as isomeric transitions, and such excited nuclear states are known as isomeric states or isomeric levels. So you understand the concept of gamma ray emission and also the nuclear isomeric transitions and isomeric states. Now another point is the nuclear isomerism. There exists certain nuclei having same atomic number and same mass number, but they show different radioactive properties. And such nuclei are known as nuclear isomers. So nuclear isomers are nuclei having same mass number and atomic number, but showing different radioactive properties. The phenomenon is known as nuclear isomerism. Isomeric states helps to study the different nuclear properties like nuclear angular momentum and the associated magnetic moment of the nuclei. Isomeric states are usually, if two nuclei are isomers, then the nuclear isomeric states are represented by using the small letter m along with the mass number. So here I am representing 119 MSN. This represents the isomeric level of 119 SN. So this is the nuclear isomer of 119 tin SN 50. Atomic number is 50. So they show these two nuclei, they have same atomic number and mass number, but they show different radioactive properties. So this is an example for a nuclear isomer SN119 and SN119M. In addition to the gamma ray emission, an excited nuclear state may also return to the ground state by another process. That process is known as internal conversion. So in this process, in internal conversion, nucleus in the excited state, a nucleus which is already in excited state, interacts with one of the orbital electrons surrounding the nucleus. So it interacts with the orbital electron and ejects that orbital electron from the atom. As a result, that a new atom is formed. So as a result of internal conversion, a nucleus gets in the excited state gets converted into another nucleus. But in gamma ray emission, the parent nucleus and daughter nucleus remains the same. So in the case of internal conversion, a nucleus in the excited state interacts with one of the orbital electrons and ejects that orbital electron from the atom. So here the kinetic energy of the ejected electron plus the binding energy of the ejected electron is same as the energy of the gamma ray emission. So kinetic energy of ejected electron is equal to the energy of gamma ray, that is E minus binding energy of the ejected electron. So this means that energy carried by the gamma ray emission is shared by the kinetic energy is equal to the kinetic energy of the ejected electron and its binding energy. So this is all about gamma decay. Now the second topic is radioisotopes. Radioisotopes refers to the radioactive isotope of an element. We have an element and like that if it is showing radioactive properties, then that isotope is a radioactive isotope. Some of the radioisotopes are produced by natural radioactivity. Some of the radioisotopes may be produced by the emission of alpha rays, beta rays or gamma rays. But some radioisotopes can be produced by artificial means. The important processes used for producing radioisotopes are: one is by neutron activation, because this process involves the bombardment of neutrons to a particular nucleus, and as a result that nucleus becomes radioactive. And sometimes radioactive isotopes are produced as fission fragments or decay fragments in nuclear reactors. Sometimes it may be produced by particle accelerators as reaction products. So these are the different main ways by which radioisotopes are produced artificially. So radioisotopes refers to radioactive isotope of an element. And then we can go to the application side of radioisotopes. Radioisotopes find so many applications in different fields. Particularly, the important application fields are medicine, archaeology, food preservation, oil exploration, agriculture, crime detection, and then we can now I can explain the different applications of radioisotopes. First one is medicine. Radiations from radioisotopes, particularly alpha radiations, are particularly alpha rays, beta rays, or gamma rays. These are the radiations coming from radioisotopes. So radiation from these radioisotopes can be used in the medical treatment and medical diagnosis fields. Radioisotopes used in medical treatment are some of the radioisotopes used are tritium 1H3, carbon 614, that is a radioactive isotopes of carbon 6 and then phosphorus P32, iodine 131. These are the important radioactive isotopes used in medical research and medical diagnosis. Another radioisotope, technetium 99M. It is a gamma emitter, which means that it emits gamma rays, and it is used for cancer treatment, for curing cancerous cells. We use the radiations, gamma radiations from the element technetium. And also another radioisotope, iodine 123, is used for thyroid function test. How to find out the malfunctioning of thyroid glands. For that, we are using the radioactive isotopes I-123. And radioactive isotopes in medicine are also used in computed assisted tomography, CAT. CAT usually forms three-dimensional images of the body, and also it is used to detect abnormal physical shapes of organs present in a body, and testing functional characteristics, and one can test the functional characteristics of the different organs of the body using CAT. So radioisotopes are also used in that field also. And another application is archaeology and art. We know that carbon-14 is a radioactive isotopes of carbon. So carbon-14 dating of paintings, old paintings, flint stones can be used to determine the age of these paintings and flint stones by measuring the activity of carbon-14 present in that paintings with respect to a present sample. One can determine the age of the paintings and flint stones. And also neutron activation is a non-destructive technique used to examine old oil paintings. Here thermal neutrons are spread over the painting, and examination of radioactive radiations from paintings gives information about the age, which means that the activity of the radioactive radiations from the paintings gives the age of that paintings. This technique is known as neutron autoradiography. This helps to determine real art pieces and their ages. And then another application of radioisotope is in the field of food preservations. And the radiations coming from radioactive isotopes can be used to preserve food particles. Radiation of rays coming from radioactive isotopes preserve food for a longer life. This particularly radiations coming from cobalt-60. Cobalt-60 is a gamma emitter. It emits gamma radiations, and gamma radiations from this cobalt-60 can be used to preserve food particles. So for food preservation, radiation of food gives longer life. The advantage is radiation of radiations, radiation of food particles from radiations coming from radioactive isotopes gives longer life to food particles. So this radiations coming from radioactive isotopes is also used for medical items as well as for spices. So that's all about food preservation. And the other applications, here I am illustrating the other applications. So radioactive isotopes are used in agriculture, particularly nitrogen-13, a radioactive isotope of nitrogen-14. Nitrogen-14, we know that a nitrogen-714. Nitrogen-13 is a radioactive isotope, and it is a beta emitter. And that nitrogen-13 is used to investigate the uptake of nitrogen by plants, roots, and also study the movement of nitrogen in the growth of plants. Geologists also use radioactive isotopes for the exploration of oil and natural gases under the sea, and also neutron activation analysis is used for the detection of crimes. Radioactive isotope cobalt-60 is used to inspect weldings, castings, leaks in pipes using non-destructive technique. And also radioactive sources, which are particularly beta emitters, are used as thickness gauges for paper, plastic sheet, and on sheet metal, etc. One can determine the thickness of paper, plastic sheet by using radioactive emitters, which are emitters of beta particles. So this means that radioactive isotopes find applications in so many fields. So radioactive isotopes are used in many fields covering medicine, archaeology, food preservation, oil exploration, agriculture, crime detection, etc. So this is all about the radioisotope and its applications.